Hello, Desert. Hello, Desert Rose. How are you today? Welcome, everyone. So it is called Saturday, and we're going to get back into A Real Alchemy, a Primer of Practical Alchemy by Robert Allen Bartlett. We're getting into Chapter 11 today. So welcome and thank you. Chapter 11 is called Via Humida. Humida? Humida? I think it means humid. Humida. Humida? I don't know. So menstrums, which is Menstruums. In the wet work, the best solvent for separating the essentials is the mercury of the particular kingdom. In the work on plants, we used a vegetable mercury to extract or separate our three essentials. We can proceed in the same way with the mineral and metals work by using the correct type of solvent for the work at hand. The alchemists called these various solvents their menstrums and menstrua, which is Menstrua. Hey, cool gamer, welcome. These were not solvents, as the modern term is generally understood. Many of them required months of preparation, and, in fact, they were often prepared by following the moon's phases. This link with the moon partly explains the use of the term menstrum. They were, in addition, held to be filled with the vital life force and could transfer that universal fire to the subject of the operation, even to revivify materials. Just as the menstrum natures and forms the fetus, just as the menstrum nurtures and forms the fetus, so the alchemist's menstrua processes a nutritive power to bring forth the chemical child or living medicine. Madeep, welcome. Happy birthday. Oh my gosh. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Madeep. Happy birthday to you and many more. That's so cool, dude. Happy birthday. So, moving right along. In some texts, my special menstrum may be referred to as a secret fire, which provokes which provokes the dissolution or separation of the subject without the need of external fire. Water, alcohol, vinegar, acetone, and ether are the most commonly used solvents in laboratory alchemy. They form the starting material of a wide range of powerful menstrums, useful in both vegetable and mineral works. Wine and vinegar provide all the solvent power we need for vegetable works, being the volatile and fixed spirits of that kingdom. Their combination forms the first menstrum we will be looking at, within a group of useful solvents for mineral works. Vegetable radical menstrum. Hey, Mattman. Happy Saturday. Welcome, dude. So, vegetable radical menstrum. The vegetable radical menstrum is essentially a form of liquid vegetable stone, or circulatum, which properly belongs with vegetable works, but it can be made effective to act upon minerals as well. The preparation is accomplished by the marriage of the volatile and fixed vegetable spirits. Ideally, we would begin with a large quantity of red wine. Half of the volume is set aside to sour and become vinegar, the fixed spirit. The other half is distilled to obtain the alcohol, the volatile spirit. All of the residues that remain, the feces, are collected together in order to extract the salt. The wine is rectified by distillation 6 or 7 times to obtain a strong alcohol in the usual way. The vinegar is concentrated first by freezing and later by distillation. For this, you can half fill a plastic bottle with vinegar and freeze it. Take it out of the freezer and overturn it into a glass jar. After 30 minutes or so, the concentrated vinegar will have thawed and dripped into the jar, leaving a plug of ice in the plastic bottle. Discard the ice, then refreeze the vinegar and repeat this thawing freezing cycle yet a third time. Now distill the concentrated vinegar, but discard the first quarter to 3/4 as it is mostly water. Distill to near dryness and collect the distillate. This is the fixed spirit. Combine all of the residual solids from both the wine and vinegar processing and calcine them. Then leach out the salts and crystallize several times. Allow the salts to deliquesce for some time between crystallizations. As the work with the salts progresses, you can blend together equal volumes of the alcohol and vinegar in a roomy glass vessel, seal it, and allow it to circulate for a lunar cycle. At the end of the month, add the dry and powdered salts to the cooled liquid slowly. Reseal the container and allow this to circulate for another lunar cycle. At the end of the second cycle, carefully distill the whole mixture to dryness. Return the distillate to the salts that remained behind, then seal the circulate for another cycle. Repeat the cycle 7 to 12 times, and on the final distillation, the menstrum will be ready. The menstrum should completely distill and leave no residue. This liquid contains ethyl acetate, married to the volatile plant salts, and will extract the essentials from plants easily. It can be used for extracting many mineral and metal subjects such as iron and copper. Kirkring menstrum. The next preparation we will examine is the so-called Kirkring menstrum, or philosophical alcohol. This preparation is attributed to the Dutch physician Dr. Theodore Kirkring, who mentions it in his commentary to Basil Valentine's, quote, triumphal chariot of antimony, end quote. This is an example of a vegetable spirit being magnetized or determined to activity in the mineral realm by contact with prepared salts. In this menstrum, we make use of the salt ammonium chloride, which is NH4Cl, or sal ammoniac. All of the volatile ammonium salts are valuable in alchemy and not just minerals, but plants and animals contain sal ammoniac. These salts sublime easily, and if not captured, will vapor away unseen. The origin of sal ammoniac in alchemical history is hard to place. It was obtained from animal wastes for centuries, and also from the horns of horned animals, which earned it the name hartsborn, or spirit of hartsborn, or hartshorn. The name hartshorn, or spirit of hartshorn. There is some evidence to suggest that the priests at the temple of Amun in ancient Egypt produce it by sublimating soot. The product contained volatile ammonia salts and was called the salts of Amun, then later sal ammoniac. Preparation of the menstrum begins with the sublimation of sal ammoniac. A commercial product is all right for this preparation. This is easily done using Corningware casseroles over electric or gas heat, as mentioned earlier when we discussed sublimation. After the first sublimation, the sublimed crystals will take on a pale yellow color. Collect them and sublime them again. The sublimate will appear more yellow-orange and even reddish in areas. Collect and sublime a third time. After this third sublimation, the crystals will appear very yellow-orange to red-yellow and are ready for use. Store them in a glass container sealed from moisture. Next, we need a very strong alcohol, 95% at least, and preferably from red wine. When we have prepared these two ingredients, they are combined at the new moon in the proportion of 4 parts sal ammoniac to 10 parts alcohol. Seal them in a glass vessel and let digest about 40 degrees Celsius for a month at least. After digestion, the whole matter is gently distilled to near dryness. Collect the distillate and distill it again 2 more times. The final distillate will be the Kirkring menstrum. Seal it tightly in a glass vessel for use. Collect together all of the residues from the distillations and save them as well. They can be used to charge more alcohol several times. Alkahest. Alkahest is another term from Paraclesis and is used to denote not only a solvent which can extract the sulfur and mercury of living metals, but also one that can specifically extract the sulfur from dead or smelted metals and infuse them with its own vitality to reanimate them. Alkahest was thought of as a universal solvent. Each of the alkahests themselves possess remarkable healing power. There are a number of ways to prepare an alkahest. We will examine two of them. Tartar alkahest. Hey, Saturnian, welcome in. Awesomeo. For the alkahest of tartar, we begin with crude tartar as it comes from the wine barrel, also called winestone. Crush the tartar into 1/8 or 1/4 inch granules and place them into a distillation vessel. Begin distillation with a gentle heat at first, then gradually increase. First, a water, called the phlegm, will come over to the receiver. Then slow or stop altogether. Increase the heat and change to a new receiver with good cooling from an ice bath. Soon the entire apparatus will fill with a thick white vapor, and a clear yellowish liquid will begin to form in the receiver, followed by drops of a black, foul-smelling oil. The distillate is now gently distilled using a water bath. The alkahest of tartar will come over as a clear liquid ready for use. There will also remain a nasty-smelling black oil, which is the crude sulfur of tartar. This oil is reputed to have beneficial effects on diseases involving the buildup of obstructing plaques, but it must be refined by distillation before being used. The alkahest is effective for extraction of most of the metals, even gold and silver, which are hard to open because of their perfect concoction of the elements. This alkahest will also extract sulfur from smelted or refined metal. In this case, the alkahest lends its alchemical life to revivify the tincture and cannot be recovered for further use. If a living mineral is extracted, the alkahest may be recovered by gentle distillation and reused. In fact, it is said to become stronger with frequent use. The oily residue that remains behind in this distillation is dissolved into rectified wine spirits and allowed to stand. Decant the clear liquid tincture for use. Urine, or nadir alkahest. That's right, urine. Quote, held in contempt by most people, but esteemed by the wise, end quote. There are many secrets hidden in urine. From urine, we can easily obtain the volatile ammonium salts in a philosophical state, that is, alive. Collecting the urine requires some preparation, since we will only want to use the finest. A cleansing diet and restricted salt intake is undertaken for several days at least, then only water or wine during the period of collection. Close the urine in a glass vessel and let it purify for a month or more in a warm place. The odors involved with this process certainly class it as an outdoor activity. Filter the putrefied urine into a distillation train and slowly distill to dryness. Return the distillate to the solids that remain, the caput mortem, and again digest for a month. Distill and repeat the concoction of distillate on the solids a third time. On the final distillation, collect the clear distillate as the spirit of urine, or alkahest of urine. As this final distillation ends, you can gently increase the heat, and you will see a white sublimate form in the upper glass. Collect this sublimate and save it aside for use. It is the volatile salt of urine, also called Van Helmont's alkahest. The alchemist J.B. Van Helmont, a later student of the works by Paracelsus, became well known for his miracle cures using this salt. Some of this salt comes over during the distillations and is contained in the alkahest. This alkahest is similar to the Kirk menstrum, but far superior in that it is derived from live sal ammoniac and thus can revivify the subject. The Kirk menstrum cannot because we used commercial sal ammoniac. Quote, this spirit, by rectification, may be made so pure and subtle that it will burn as fire and dissolve gold and precious stones. French J. from the art of distillation. I'm going to read that again. This spirit, by rectification, may be made so pure and subtle that it will burn as fire and dissolve gold and precious stones. Genevieve, welcome in. Tanya, awesome. Welcome, everyone. Happy Saturday. Via Humida. So that was chapter 11. Let's get into chapter 12. Concerning the minerals. Before we continue our examination of wet ways, let us digress and talk about our subject matter, the products of the mineral realm. Just as we had to gather and prepare our herbs for use, so it is with the minerals. Depending on how we prepare our subject and the choice of menstrums, there are many useful materials derived from minerals and metals. Preparing ores. In the alchemical view, mineral and metal ores collected fresh from the earth are in their natural living form and preferred to any commercial chemical substitute. Today, people do not usually consider rocks and minerals to be alive, but to the alchemist, the mineral realm is just as full of life as the other two kingdoms of nature. Minerals are alive. They grow, evolve, produce seed, and die just like plants and animals. But they do this at an imperceptibly slow rate. Code, welcome in. Awesome. Happy Saturday. Quote, the bodies of metals are domiciles of their spirits. When their terrestrial substance is by degrees made thin, extended, and purified, the life and fire hitherto lying dormant is excited and made to appear. For the life which dwells in the metals is laid hid, as it were, asleep, nor can it exert its power or show itself unless the bodies be first dissolved and turned into their radical source. Being brought to this degree at length by abundance of their internal light, they communicate their tingling properties to other imperfect bodies, end quote. And that's from the Golden Treatise of Hermes Trismegistus, and quoted and footnoted in Margaret Atwood's Hermetic Philosophy and Alchemy. Dude, Lake Atwood is right near here. It's awesome. It's also where I bought my camper. The species of the mineral realm are just as varied as those of the vegetable and animal worlds. The minerals and metals appear to us in many different forms. Some of these forms are easier to find and to work with in order to provide the essentials of each planetary type. The oxides, carbonates, sulfides, and sulfates of the metals are the most commonly preferred sources as minerals right out of the earth. The table below indicates some of the commonly available metal ores for each of the planets. Saturn is galena or cerussite, Jupiter cassiterite, Mars is pyrite or magnetite, the Sun native gold or placer gold, Venus malachite, azurite, native copper, Mercury is cinnabar, and Moon is argentite or cerargyrite. Cerargyrite, argentite, cerargyrite, probably. I'm not sure, but also silver, right? Okay. Plan to use 5 to 10 pounds of raw mineral ore to begin with in general, but this is dependent on the quality of the mineral. Take the mineral ore you have selected to work on and separate by hand as much of the high-grade material as possible from any surrounding rock. Fold the collected material into a piece of cloth or canvas to avoid flying debris as you strike it with a hammer. Clear out any impurities that may have been freed. Then continue crushing and grinding to a fine powder. A 4-inch iron pipe cap fitted with a 4 to 6-inch piece of pipe makes a nice mortar for pounding ores. Nice. Very hard stones are often heated quite hot, then thrown into cold water a few times to help in reducing them to powder. Most of the minerals have associated with them certain impurities which we want to remove. Foremost of these are the more volatile metals, which may include traces of arsenic, mercury, cadmium, selenium, zinc, and free sulfur. Slowly dry these off by roasting the powdered ore outside for a day or two at about 90 degrees Celsius. Stir the material around once in a while during the roast. After this, you can raise the temperature slowly to about 250 degrees Celsius for a day to remove the last traces of arsenic. It goes without saying that these are not things you want to be breathing, so have good ventilation. Many ores can be extracted with a menstrum when they are in the form of the oxide. Metal oxides are called a calx, C-A-L-X, of the particular metal. To prepare them, the powdered ore is slowly calcined at higher temperatures, ground and calcined again. The sulfide ores are often treated this way by slowly calcining the sulfur out, which is replaced by oxygen to form the oxide. Carbonate minerals are easily calcined to the oxide. They are also soluble in acidic solutions and form the salt of that acid. This offers many possibilities for purification prior to extraction by one of the prepared menstrums. Using a strong vinegar to produce the acetate of the metal is often the preferred way, and this subject will be examined later. The extraction of the mineral takes place much as in the vegetable work, by covering the subject with menstrum, sealing and digesting in a warm place up to about 90 degrees Celsius. After some time of digestion, and this can take months, the menstrum will take on a color or tincture. Filter this tincture off and gently distill the majority of the menstrum off. Save this for future extractions. Then allow the residue to evaporate gently down to an oily or resinous consistency. Collect the residue and extract it into a small volume of strong alcohol. Let the alcohol extract stand for a week or two, then decant off the clear tinted liquid for use. Some operators like to take this a step further by evaporating the alcohol extract and dissolving the residue into a small amount of ether. The ether extract is allowed to stand, decanted, and evaporated. The final residue is then extracted again with alcohol and gently distilled. The distillate is collected for use and contains the most volatile essence of the metal. This additional step helps to eliminate any metallic salts that may have carried through the extractions and so provide us with a more purified sulfur of the metal. Metallic oils. Quote, the sulfur of the metals is an oiliness extracted from the metals themselves, endowed with very many virtues for the health of man, end quote. Paracelsus. Dude, Paracelsus. If we carefully follow the instructions of the sages for preparing various oils and elixirs from the metals, we can indeed obtain the products they describe, and this increases our confidence in their description of using the preparations. The medicinal use of oils derived from the mineral world has a long history, with some reports bordering on the miraculous. However, as we mentioned earlier, the vegetable world is much more forgiving of mistakes than the mineral realm. If one does not fully understand the theory and practice of metalworks, an assumed tincture of iron or copper may just be a solution of toxic metal salts and not the true alchemical sulfur of the metal. Many operators consider the metal as a catalyst which acts upon the solvent to change it in characteristic ways. The actual metal is not present in the final product. Still, the metallic works provide valuable lessons in the operation of nature and tangible results which demonstrate the operator's progress. There are many different oils to be obtained from the metals, depending on the subject and method of extraction. For curiosity's sake, we mention some reported effects of using metal oils medicinally and at the psychological level as summarized below. These are a selection of uses extracted from older texts, as well as reports from modern workers, and thus not to be taken as medical advice. Oil of antimony. Although antimony is not one of the 7 ancient metals, it is used in alchemy as a long history. Its use in alchemy has a long history, and we will be examining this in greater detail later on. Many alchemists have claimed it to be the best blood purifier available. The volatilized oil of antimony is said to help restore youth. Depending on the method of preparation, the oil of antimony rids the body of toxins by purgation. which means to purge, right? Purgation. Purgation. Purgation, maybe. Catharsis, or through sweating. I don't know. I'm not sure how to say that G. There are many claims through the centuries of antimony oil curing cancer and leprosy. The oil of antimony is held to be nearly a universal medicine. It has a characteristic penetrating fire that will work with any other planetary medicine and deliver it powerfully to its target. Hence, it is often called the triumphal chariot. Oil of gold is considered to be a medicine of the highest order. It strengthens circulation as a heart tonic. It is generally strengthened to all systems and is also a good blood purifier and regenerative. It is a true universal medicine, often referred to as potato gold, and highly prized from ancient times. Oil of gold has been used successfully for treatment of rheumatism, arthritis, cancer, syphilis, uremia, and multiple sclerosis. Mentally, this is good for a weak will and strengthens ambition, courage, vitality, and creativity. The smallest amount of the oil of gold will strengthen any other herbal or mineral elixir. Cool. It's like a clear crystal. Oil of silver is effective for disorders of the brain, cerebellum, nervous system, memory, and emotions. It is used in case of epilepsy, depression, mania, and emotional trauma. It affects the subconscious mind and dreams. It is useful in understanding one's hidden past. It helps to remove fears and mental blockages. It enhances one's psychic sensitivity and powers of imagination. Oil of mercury powerfully affects the nervous system, respiratory system, and liver. It is used for treating skin problems, soothing the nerves, asthma, and related breathing problems. It promotes sensory awareness and quickens perceptions. It is also useful for speech problems and other troubles with communication skills. Oil of copper is useful for treating liver, thyroid, and reproductive organ diseases. It stabilizes blood pressure and purifies the body of blood-borne infections. It has been used in cases of leukemia and cancer. It enhances psychic sensitivity and attraction to the opposite sex. Oil of iron, copper, that's Venus. Okay, oil of iron is another powerful regenerative for the whole body. It strengthens and purifies the blood, rapidly heals wounds, cuts, and abrasions. It is used to treat the gallbladder, pancreas, bleeding ulcers, and ulcers in general. It is also said to enhance one's natural instincts. It provides an additional boost of energy, especially when mixed with sun herbs. In fact, it is said, it is said to activate the potentials of most other herbs. Oil of tin is useful for problems affecting the liver and lungs. It balances the way in which the body stores and uses sugars. It is held to have sudorific, vermifuge, and antispasmodic properties. On the mental side, it affects the growth and wealth attitudes and brings lightheartedness to one's outlook. I'm going to read the last one, but then we're going to look up some of the words in that one. Oil of lead is especially effective for diseases affecting the bones, atrophy of the body, muscular atrophy, as well as problems with the spleen. It has been used for treating acute lead toxicity, anemia, and neuropathy. It is said to increase steadiness, patience, and tolerance. Okay, so sudorific, vermifuge, and I know what antispasmodic means. Okay. Sudorific, S-U-D-O-R. Let's find out. Sudorific, relating to or causing sweating. Oh, cool.
Sudorific. Sudorific.
Sudorific, very cool. A drug that induces sweating. Relating to or causing sweating. Okay. Vermifuge. and anthelmin, I don't know what that means. Anthelmintic, an anthelmintic medicine.
Vermifuge.
What does vermifuge meaning? An agent that destroys or expels parasitic worms. That's what anthelmintic means. However you say that word. Vermifuge. Ooh, okay. Getting rid of parasitic worms. There's some Palo Santo tea that will help with that too. Okay, so interesting, juicy. Okay, chapter 13, Via Humida or Humida, part 2. Oh, did I skip pictures? I don't think I did. There are some coming. No, I read the graph to you. We continue now with the methods of Via Humida with a different and very effective process involving the acetates of metals, which we mentioned earlier. It begins with the final menstrum we will examine for the wet way, which is called the radical vinegar. This liquid opens the way for obtaining the philosophical essentials from the mineral realm, as well as one of the paths for confecting the philosopher's stone. Radical vinegar. This is a method to create a very concentrated vinegar that is loaded with mineral fire. The radical vinegar provides a path whereby most of the mineral and metallic realm can be opened. The starting minerals are easy to find: copper wire and red wine vinegar. The copper wire is balled up loosely and heated to redness several times in order to oxidize it to a black color. Place the brittle mass into a glass vessel and cover with wine vinegar, which has been concentrated by freezing. Seal the container and let it digest and shake it at least daily. After some time, the liquid will become deep emerald green. Decant the liquid into another vessel and save it aside. Repeat the process of heating the wire and extracting with fresh vinegar several times. Collect all the liquid extracts together and filter it into a porcelain dish. Evaporate the liquid gently and collect the deep green crystals of copper acetate that form. These can be recrystallized from rainwater to further purify them. The dry crystals are crushed and then placed into a strong distillation apparatus. With the cooled receiver in place, the crystals are heated first slowly, then gradually up to about 400 to 500 degrees Celsius. The liquid distillate is a very concentrated acetic acid. Acetic. Not acidic, acetic. A very concentrated acetic acid, and may have a slight blue-green tint. This is the radical vinegar. It has strength in itself to open many mineral and metallic substances, and shows its greatest utility in the preparation of metal acetates, from which we can separate the philosophical mercuries of the metals. Philosophical mercuries. Some alchemists refer to this as the acetate path. It stems from an alchemical process that was a closely guarded secret for many centuries and leads to preparing the secret wine spirit of the adepts. The idea behind the acetate work involves the transfer of plant life into the metal in order to accelerate its evolution. In the general process, a mineral or metal ore is prepared as an oxide or carbonate, which is subsequently converted to an acetate using a live vinegar from wine, or even better, the radical vinegar. After isolation and purification, the metal acetate is subjected to a dry distillation. That is, the crystals themselves are distilled slowly at first, then gradually increasing to about 400 to 700 degrees Celsius. The products of this distillation are a volatile spirit, a philosophical mercury, an oil, or the sulfur of the metal called the lion's blood, a watery phlegm, and a solid residue, which is often called the black lion, from which is obtained the salt. Wow. Around 1450, the English alchemist George Ripley called this distillate the blessed liquor, or menstrum, photons, and describes it as containing 3 substances. 1. The aqua ardens, which burns like wine spirits. 2. A thick white water called lac virginum, or virgin's milk. And 3. A blood red oil called sanguis leonis, or blood of the lion, sanguis leonis. He further states that the key to all chemistry lies hidden in this menstrum photons. Isaac Holland describes the work on lead acetate in Opus Saturni, or a work of Saturn. He begins here with an already pure lead acetate, purified Saturn. The same method of preparation can be applied to other mineral and metal acetates. Quote, "My child, you may remember that I ordered you to reserve the 1/2 of the purified Saturn, which take and put into a stone pot. Pour upon it a bottle or more of distilled wine vinegar. Set a head on. Distill the vinegar again from it in a bath. The head must have a hole at the top to pour fresh vinegar upon the matter, and abstract the vinegar again from it. Pour fresh vinegar again on, and again abstract it. This pouring on and abstracting or distilling off must continue so long till the vinegar be drawn off as strong as it was when it was put in. Then it is enough, and the matter hath in it as much of the spirit of vinegar as it can contain. Then take the pot out of the bath, take off the head, and take the matter out, and put it into a thick glass which can endure the fire. Set a head on it. Put it in a cupel with ashes. That's capitalized and it's CUPEL. A cupel with ashes, which set on a furnace. First make a small fire, and so continually a little stronger, till your matter come over as red as blood, thick as oil, and sweet as sugar, with a celestial scent. Then keep it in that heat so long as it distills, and when it begins to slack, then increase your fire till the glass begins to glow. Continue this heat till no more will distill. Then let it cool of itself. Take the receiver off. Top it very close with wax. Take the matter out of the glass. Beat it to powder in an iron mortar with a steel pestle, and then grind it on a stone with good distilled vinegar. Put this matter so ground into a pot. Pour good distilled vinegar upon it, that 2 parts be full. Set the pot into a bath with a head upon it. Distill the vinegar off. Pour fresh vinegar again upon it. Distill it off again. Thus do so long, that the vinegar be as strong as it was when it was first poured upon it. Then let it cool. Take the matter out of the bath. Take the head off. Take the matter out of the pot. Put it into a stronger round glass, which can endure the fire, as you did before. Set it upon a furnace in a cupel with sifted ashes. Set a heat, or set a head and a receiver luted to it. Then distill it, first with a small fire, which augment by degrees, till a matter come over red as blood and thick as oil, as aforesaid. Give it fire till no more will distill. Then let it cool of itself. Take off the head, break the glass pot, and take the matter out. Powder it again, and grind it on a stone with the distilled vinegar. Put it again into the stone pot. Pour fresh vinegar upon it. Set it into the bath, and its head on. Distill the vinegar from it. Pour it on again, as hath been taught, till the vinegar remains strong as it was. Reiterate this distillation in the bath until the matter hath no more spirit of the vinegar in it. Then take it out. Set it in a glass pot. Distill all that will distill forth in ashes, till the matter become a red oil. Then have you the most noble water of paradise, to pour upon all thick stones, to perfect the stone. This is one way. This water of paradise, thus distilled, the ancients called their sharp, clear vinegar, for they conceal its name. It's fascinating. The metal or mineral ore we have selected to work on is converted into its acetate form and distilled in this crystalline state. During this distillation, as the temperature is rising, moisture will begin to collect and come over into the recipient. This is mostly water that was associated within the crystalline acetate, the so-called water of crystallization. Collect this water and save it aside. This is called the phlegm and is used to extract the salts later. As the heat increases, the phlegm will stop distilling over. Attach a fresh receiver and continue heating. Soon as you will see a thick, heavy white vapor coming over and a golden liquid form on the receiver, which must be kept very cold, or this spirit will escape. The final distillation temperature may be in the range of 400 to 700 degrees Celsius, and by this time you will notice drops of red blood oil distilling over. The apparatus being filled with dense white vapor, so as to appear made of chalk. Let the apparatus cool and save the distillate, tightly sealed. This liquid appears red like wine, and called the Menstrum photons, or secret wine spirit. Gentle distillation of this liquid will yield a clear, very volatile liquid containing the philosophical mercury of the metal, and a deep red liquid which contains the philosophical sulfur of the metal. These are called the red and white wine. The volatile liquid, or philosophical mercury, is purified by distillation several times. This liquid contains mostly acetone, with some of the more volatile components of the oil. In fact, this was the way acetone was made industrially until the early 1900s, by which time its alchemical roots had largely been forgotten. This was becoming evident even by the 1850s, when a medical doctor named C.A. Becker investigated this preparation. Becker presents case histories for the successful treatment of flu, nervous complaints, rheumatism, headaches, fevers, and paralysis using the volatile spirit, which he termed spiritus aceti oleosus, because it was prepared in the old way and still contained some of the volatile oils, unlike the commercial product. Becker considered these etheric oils to be essential to the medicinal effects and urged this fellow physician to regain possession of his valuable remedy. Oh my gosh, this stuff is so interesting. The red liquid, or the red wine, is also purified by gentle distillation. First, a clear acidic phlegm will come over. The thick blood red oil that remains can be distilled at a higher temperature, or often it is just dissolved in alcohol, and the clear tinted liquid is decanted for use. These oils are analogous to the essential oils obtained from plants, and their chemical composition is just as complex. The solid residue from the acetate distillation is generally removed and calcined, then extracted with and combined phlegm and crystallized to obtain the salt. The distillation residue from lead is interesting as it is mostly composed of fine particles of lead metal and will rapidly oxidize on exposure to the air. Very often it will ignite on its own and become like a red-hot coal, burning itself to ashes. Any pure salt of the particular metal can be used as the body, even a dead commercial salt, which is then reanimated with the mercury and sulfur, as we did in the vegetable work. Holland describes an operation along these lines which requires 30 to 32 weeks to produce a solid medicine or stone from lead, of which he says, quote, "My child, there are some people who have external distempers on their bodies, such as fistulas, cancer, wolf, or evil biles or holes, be they what or how they will, etc. Give such a one the weight of one wheat corn to drink in warm wine 2 days, as is taught before. The whole body will, within and without, be freed from all which is adverse to nature." Quote, "And if the party will take the like quantity of a wheat corn every day for the space of 9 days, I tell you, his body will be as spiritual as if he had been 9 days in the terrestrial paradise eating every day of the fruit, making him fair, lusty, and young. Therefore, use this stone weekly, the quantity of a wheat corn, with warm wine. So shall you live in health until your last hour of the time appointed for you by God." End quote. Oh my gosh. Oh wow. Look at this is like an old alembic still. Badass. This illustration from The Art of Distillation shows the basic design for the acetate work. The still pot on the furnace holds the acetate. Then the vapor is led through a cooling system into a receiver. This will catch the bulk of the distillate. A cooling system, using a barrel of ice water, leads off from this receiver to a second receiver which catches the more volatile spirits. Some artists make the distillation that philosopher oh, let's try again. Some artists make the distillation that philosophical mercuries are derived from the metals, while the minerals produce an alkahest. Wow. And that was chapter 13. I think chapter 14 is a big one. I might call it here. 46 minutes and 10 seconds. Let's do it. Let's read 14, and then I'm going to call it after that. Via Sicca. The dry way of working is held to be faster, but at greater danger and requiring some developed skills. Many of these works require fierce heat, toxic materials, and molten salts or metals, as well as some agility in manipulating them. There are some artists who eschew the violent methods of the dry way with its high fusion temperatures and corrosive salt mixtures. Quote, fire is the life of metals while they are still in their ore, and the fire of smelting is their death, end quote, says Sendivogius. The death of the mineral, its putrefaction, is the key that releases the spiritual components from the prison of the body. The trick in either the wet or dry way is to be able to capture the subtle essence into a suitable vehicle before they can vapor away. Quote, to grasp the invisible elements, to attract them by their material correspondences, to control, purify, and transform them by the living power of the spirit. This is true alchemy, end quote. Paraclesis. In the solid state, the body is subjected to the forces of earth, and the universal fire is held prisoner within the body. The methods of the dry way create an open entrance to the bodies of minerals and metals to release their trapped quintessence. Most of these operations involve their amalgamation with metallic mercury, melting or fusion of the materials, since the vital and spiritual energies transfer in the liquid state, but they will escape if not captured by a magnet or proper medium. The hand of the philosophers. The alchemical sulfur and mercury are released and captured by the hand of the philosophers. In laboratory alchemy, there are a handful of mineral salts, which are of great utility, and unlocking mineral and metallic essences. Isaac Holland called them the hand of the philosophers. These 5 salts act as keys to open materials. They can be combined and prepared in many different ways in order to unlock any metal or mineral so that its spiritual essence is available for extraction by a suitable medium. Quote, in the power of the salts and their preparation lies the whole art of alchemy, end quote. Here's a picture of the hand of the philosophers. Dang. Fish in the fire. In the palm. Niter. The first and foremost salt placed on the hand is niter, or saltpeter, which Holland calls the king of salts and the crown. It is the thumb of the hand. Quote, he is the mill through which everything must be ground, end quote. Today we call it potassium nitrate, or KNO3, and it is a powerful oxidizer, the main ingredient in gunpowder. In the old days, niter was obtained from specially prepared and attended piles of decomposing plant and animal wastes, wood ashes, and loose soil. The nitrogen-containing components decompose and form nitric acid, which reacts with the potassium salts in the plant ash to form potassium nitrate. This all takes some time, at least 1 to 3 years, so there would be many different niter beds working to harvest at any time. This makes me think of composting. At harvest, the pile is leached with water, and the water evaporated to obtain the niter as crystals, which are then purified by recrystallizing several times. The commercial potassium nitrate of today is usually generated from the waste products of other chemical processing industries and is not considered to be philosophical. This holds true for most of these salts we are discussing. Prior to use, they must be reanimated or recharged with fire. Dude, I don't know, it just feels like all the things mainstream, all the soul's been taken out, right? Always. We have to bring it back. We don't have to, but we can. In the case of niter, it should be recrystallized from rainwater several times, allowing it to absorb the moisture of the air in between crystallizations at the very least. An even better trick is to recrystallize the commercial product after solution in fresh urine, followed by crystallization from rainwater. Quote, niter is the corporified spirit of the stars, and therein is the nature of metals. Niter is the body of the stars, whose central fire or sulfur is called Sol, S-O-L. La Fontaine, F. Curious Aphorisms Concerning the Universal Salt of Nature, 1797. Vitriol. Depicted as the index finger of the hand and a 6-pointed star is vitriol. Today, this term usually denotes the blue crystalline salt, copper sulfate, or the green crystals of iron sulfate, but there are other vitriols as well. There are writings describing the use of these materials dating to at least 600 BCE. Dating to at least 600 BCE. This mineral is found near deposits of sulfide ores, such as pyrite, where water leaches it out of the weathering ore. Some of the old texts refer to this salt as atrament, A-T-R-A-M-E-N-T, atrament, recalling its use as a blackening agent for inks and leather, while other texts refer to it as lixivium of marcasites. Lixivium of marcasites, in reference to how it is prepared. Marcasites are the sulfide ores. The vitriols are easily soluble in water, so their purification by recrystallization is easy. You can produce your own vitriol, though it takes some time. Collect together 10 to 20 pounds at least of iron pyrite, FeS, and grind it to powder. Spread the powder out into a large flat iron tray, then alternately roast it gently, and spray with rainwater to moisten, then dry. Repeat this process of artificially weathering the ore many times over the course of several months. Now place the weathered ore into a container and wash it well with rainwater. Save all of the wash water together and continue weathering the ore that remains. Decant or filter the wash water into a wide bowl and allow it to evaporate. A few drops of concentrated sulfuric acid may be added to retard air oxidation of the solution. You will soon see beautiful emerald green crystals forming, which you will collect and keep in an airtight container. These green crystals can be purified by recrystallization from rainwater into very glassy, transparent crystals of ferrous sulfate, FeRrous, FeSO4 to 7H2O. In fact, the name vitriol derives from the Latin vitrum, meaning glass. Many of the ancient authors sing praises to the ability of vitriol. Basil Valentine called it the true mineral salt, which contains the red and the white spirits. If vitriol alone is distilled, there will first come over a clear liquid, the white spirit, with a strong sulfur dioxide odor. Keep this lightly sealed, and the choking odor will disappear as the dissolved sulfur dioxide oxidizes to form a mild solution of sulfuric acid. As the heat is increased quite high, there will definitely ascend a more viscous, reddish liquid, which is a concentrated sulfuric acid filled with martial essence, the red spirit. Martians. Sal ammoniac. We briefly met this salt in the preparation of Kirk Menstrum. Sal ammoniac is the star of the hand at the middle finger. Quote, the spirit of all things is sal ammoniac, end quote. Quote, sal ammoniac can unite all things that are antagonistic and cannot be mixed so that afterward they mix and conjugate, end quote. Isaac Holland, Opera Vegetabilis. I'm not sure. The amazing thing about this salt is its ability to sublimate easily, and in doing so, it changes from the solid state directly into vapors of hydrochloric acid and ammonia, only to reunite on a cool surface as the solid salt again. It is this extremely corrosive atmosphere that serves to open many of the metals for extraction. When mineral or metal ores are mixed with sal ammoniac and sublimated, their more subtle parts are caught up in this vapor and deposited with the sublimate, purified and opened up. To illustrate, here is a method for preparing a tincture from silver as given by the 20th century alchemist Fulcanelli. To begin, we need horn silver, which occurs as the mineral cerargyrite, consisting mainly of silver chloride. Pure silver metal dissolved into nitric acid, then precipitated with a solution of sea salt, will also work for this experiment. Wash the precipitate, which is silver chloride, with water, then dry it. Next, mix it with 3 times its weight of sal ammoniac and grind it well together. Now gently sublime the powder and collect all that will come over. Dissolve the sublimate in rainwater and let it settle. You will see a red to brown fine solid fall to the bottom. This solid contains the lunar sulfur. Decant off the clear liquid and save it. Wash the solids several times with rainwater, then place the solids into a dish to dry. Collect together all of the dried solid as a powder, then extract it with rectified wine alcohol, 95% or better, for a month. The resulting clear golden alcohol extract is a tincture of silver and contains the lunar sulfur for use. Your sal ammoniac can be recovered for future use by evaporating the liquid you decanted from the solids earlier. Alum. The lantern of the hand at the ring finger is alum. Properly speaking, alum is a vitriol being the double sulfate of potassium and aluminum, which is Kal and SO4 but has been such a versatile mineral since ancient times that it's in a class of its own. It has been used for cleaning and deodorizing, as a mordant for dyes, to prepare leather, and as an astringent and a styptic to close wounds. Alum has a low melting point, 92.5 degrees Celsius, and so it is often added to assist fusion of other salts and mineral bodies. At higher temperatures, alum releases sulfur oxides in large amounts, and so assists the production of sulfuric acid. Being soluble in water, alum is easily purified for use by recrystallization. The best native source for this is the mineral alunite, or alum stone, which is ground and roasted, then dissolved in water. After filtration, the water is evaporated to obtain crystals of alum. Salt. The key of the hand on the little finger is salt. This is common salt, sodium chloride, which is NaCl, contained as sea salt, or that which is mined from the earth, called sal gemma. The fixed spirit of salt. Salt itself has great healing power when rightly prepared. Such a preparation is the fixed spirit of salt as given by Holland. Take sea salt and grind it fine in a mortar, then dissolve it into distilled vinegar from white wine. Filter the solution into a wide bowl and gently heat to evaporate the liquid. Soon a crust or skin will begin to form at the surface of the liquid. Collect this carefully with a skimmer and save it aside. Holland calls this the spiritus of the salt. Continue collecting this as it forms until the liquid volume is too small. Take all the remains and repeat the solution with vinegar, evaporation, and collection of the spiritus a second time. Collect all of the spiritus together and save for use. It is not fixed at this stage. The residue that remains in the bowl is called the corpora of the salt. This same purification can be used for other salts as well. Holland says, quote, "One cannot work with any salt unless the spiritus has first been separated from the corpus. As you separate the spiritus from the corpora of common salt, thus is also separated the spiritus from the corpora of all other things." To fix the spiritus of salt, we must first recrystallize it from rainwater several times. Dry the crystals, powder them in a mortar, then add sal ammoniac, about 1/10 the total weight of salt. Seal this in a tall flask and allow it to digest for at least a month. Take out the salt and gently dry, then seal in a glass container for use. This is the fixed spiritus salis, which is said to have miraculous healing virtues. Dang, man, I just love this. Dissolving waters and mineral acids. One common use of these various salts is the preparation of aqua fortis, or strong waters. Combination of salts are distilled at high temperatures to produce the mineral acids such as sulfuric, nitric, and hydrochloric acids. The resulting strong water is used for the preparation and purification of mineral bodies. For example, we can combine equal parts of niter and vitriol and add 1/3 part of alum, then distill up to about 800 degrees Celsius. This will yield about 20% by weight of the solids, a solution of nitric acid with a concentration around 50% HNO3. Vitriol can be distilled alone or with alum to produce sulfuric acid. Concentrated sulfuric acid will react with common salt to produce hydrochloric acid. Aqua regia is the king's water, so called because it is strong enough to dissolve gold, the king of metals. It is commonly made by mixing 3 parts hydrochloric acid with 1 part nitric acid. But in the old days, it had to be prepared by mixing and distilling salts. For example, we can mix 2 parts niter with 1 part sal ammoniac and distill at a high temperature to form aqua regia. Another recipe to mix Another recipe is to mix 4 parts vitriol, 6 parts nadir, and 1 part alum, then distill them. Add sal ammoniac to the distillate, and it will dissolve gold, silver, and sulfur. Salts can also be combined in dry form with many minerals and affect their dissolution. The reactions generally take longer and thus are not as violent as the concentrated mineral acids. For example, the mixing of nadir and sal ammoniac as powders, to which is added a metal to be dissolved. A few drops of rainwater will help get the reaction going. This mixture will generate aqua regia, or regia, slowly and dissolve the metal. Not all of the reaction mixtures are slow to try a small amount first. Not all of the reaction mixtures are slow, so try a small amount first. One spectacular example of this is the mixture of 4 parts sal ammoniac, 1 part dew salt, and 4 parts powdered zinc. A few drops of water placed on top of a small pile of the powder begins a reaction that shortly causes the material to burst into flame. The illustration above depicts an apparatus useful for the distillation of strong waters by adding spoonfuls of salts slowly. Bam! Dry menstrum. Salts are used in dry methods as dry menstrua, just as the liquid menstrua of the wet way extract and retain the essentials. Just as the liquid menstrua of the wet way extract and retain the essentials in vegetable and mineral works, the dry way achieves the state of total liquefaction of the mineral or metal by high temperature fusion, aided by select salts. Much of this technology stems from the very ancient arts of glassmaking and ceramics. Salts, in addition to those of the hand, include our old friend salt of tartar and the related sodium carbonate or natron, both used extensively in glass and ceramic glasses for their relative ease of fusion, about 900 degrees Celsius, and ability to dissolve many mineral bodies. These are often referred to as the alkali carbonates or just alkali. The fixed salt of tartar, K2CO3, is said to penetrate every metal on fusion and takes from them the sulfurous part, end quote. Alchemist George Starkey, in his work The Art of Volatilizing Alkalis, speaks of the process wherein the calx of an imperfect metal is fused with alkali in order to extract its sulfur. If you have some experience with the ENS tincture process described earlier, this operation has similarities, but is adapted to mineral and metal bodies. We mentioned the corrosive nature of tartar salt and the deliquescence liquid. This corrosiveness is greatly intensified in the fused salt, giving it the power to liquefy minerals and metals rapidly. Begin by heating a large porcelain crucible and fusing the salt of tartar, and fusing the salt of tartar until it is about half full. When it is molten, slowly add your powdered ore, generally in the form of an oxide but not always, and allow it to fuse. Stir occasionally with an iron rod. Continue adding portions of the ore and additional tartar salt to maintain complete flux of the matter. Now we have 2 options. Let the contents cool in the crucible and break it out later, or cast the molten liquid out into a smooth heat-resistant surface. Collect the solidified matter and grind it while it is still warm. Again, we have a few options. 1, allow the powdered mass to deliquesce, then extract the metal's sulfur with Kirk menstrum, just as in the ENS tincture process. The second way is to dissolve the mass into rainwater and allow the solids to settle. The solids are collected and dried, then extracted with a prepared menstrum. The final extract will contain the sulfur of the metal, And if an alkahest was used in the extraction, it will also be reanimated with fresh fire. This operation is a little wet and dry, but helps to illustrate some of the possibilities of methods involved. How do I say this word? Esopica. Ysopaica. Esopica. Let's find out. Ysopaica. Esopica definition. Ysopaica. I have spelled you right, but I didn't spell definition right. A word supposed to designate the ancient art of separating the pure. So my guess is as good as anyone else's, actually. I mean, that's not true. There are people that know how to say it, I'm sure, but like Esopica, that's how we say it today. Spagirica and Esopica. Okay. Oh, where are you guys? Here you are. All right. Hey, Angelfish. Hello. Welcome. Good to see you. Esopica. Another valuable process, which is somewhat obscure, is called esopica, the art of washing things white by fire. It does not really fit in as a specifically wet or dry method and is more an auxiliary method of purifying extracts from plant or mineral sources. Paracelsus mentions this process in his writings, and Rudolf Glauber, who was a later follower of the works of Paracelsus, praised it greatly. The roots of it's not a plant. The roots of Esopica go back to the burnt offerings of the ancient temples, the idea being that the most purified essence of a material is driven off to the heavens by the action of fire. Frater Albertus often said, quote, "That which is essential is not destroyed by the fire, it is only purified thereby," end quote. Glauber, in his work De Purgatorio Philosophorum, circa 1650, writes, quote, "The flame of fire can consume nothing, but it's like, i.e., the combustible sulfur, but cannot consume the incombustible mercury, nor destroy, burn, or annihilate it. The flames only serving to meliorate and exalt it. Meliorate. Meliorate. For the mercury of all things can no way better be purged than by fire, by which, though it be driven away, yet may also be found again as being incombustible," end quote. Okay, so meliorate. Let's find out. Meliorate. Meliorate. Another term for ameliorate. Oh, great. Well, I know what that means.
Meliorate. Meliorate.
Meliorate. Okay. Make something bad or unsatisfactory better. Meliorate. Cool. Ameliorate. Meliorate. I like it.
Ameliorate.
Thank you. Okay. That woman She makes me laugh. Okay, where's that word? Oh yeah, over here. Meliorate. The flames only serving to meliorate and exalt it. For the mercury of all things can no way better be purged than by fire, by which though it be driven away, yet may also be found again, as being incombustible, end quote. Quote, vegetables, animals, and minerals, with the help of any burning spirit, not only that of wine, but of corn, honey, fruits, leaves, or grass, may be most highly purified and reduced to the highest medicines, end quote. The practice is fairly simple and basically consists of obtaining an alcoholic extract from vegetable, animal, or mineral subjects and igniting the alcohol under a cooling dome or similar cooling setup that will capture the hot vapors that arise and then condensing them. Quote, this spirit of wine being kindled burns away, and the mercury of the most pure essential salt is thereby loosened and with the flame goes over into the receiver where it is caught of the phlegm, from which, being separated by distillation in a vaporous bath, it is fit for use. End quote. As a simple example, we can take red wine and distill out the alcohol, which is then rectified several times. The remaining wine liquid is evaporated to a thick honey-like residue. This honey is then distilled at a higher temperature to obtain a black stinking oil, which contains healing virtue locked inside its impure and stinking form. This black oil is dissolved in the rectified wine spirit, then ignited under the cooling helm where the hot vapors will be condensed. The resulting distillate can be used as is, or subjected to a gentle distillation to obtain a small amount of volatile solid, which Glauber calls the incombustible mercury of the subject and a powerful medicine. Quote, this method of using the burning spirit works on all stinking, impure, vegetable, animal, and easily inflammable mineral subjects, whereby they are washed to the highest degree of purity, with which great things may be performed, end quote. In the work with minerals and metals, the subject is treated with salts, as mentioned above, extracted with one of the menstrums, such as Kirkring menstrum, and the resulting extract is burned under a cooling helm. The resulting distillate is used as is, or the gentle distillation to obtain a volatile salt completes the preparation. Quote, in the same way, we can extract tinctures from iron, copper, antimony, and sulfur, and with the assistance of the flame of spirit of wine, mature them into most lovely, fragrant, incombustible tinctures. For by means of our microcosmical salt, all metals and minerals may be reduced to potability without the help of corrosive, in which state they are the most powerful medicaments imaginable. What a cool word, medicaments. I'm not sure. Medicaments, probably. The yield from this method tend to be small but very powerful in effect. Quote, learn to prepare medicines by fire, because whatsoever can without hurt or loss abide the fire, the same must needs be pure and good. End quote. Quote, the art of washing things snow white by philosophical purgatory. Oh no, they're the same. The art of washing things snow white by philosophical purgatory fire appears to be the head skill of philosophy, physic, and alchemy. End quote. Glauber, De Purgatorio Philosophorum. And then here's a picture. Frontispiece to the Triumphal Chariot of Antimony by Basil Valentine. What's that say? Antimony. I'm not sure. And that was chapter 14, everyone. We did it. Awesome. Oh, I wonder if you guys can hear the bands out there. Today's the last day of the fair, and I tell you, I'm thankful. I'm ready for it. I'm ready for the hubbub to be off my front yard. Oh gosh, but it's been cool that it's here, and I drank way too much lemonade and got to hang out with some really cool people and walk around the fair each day. So thanks for hanging out with me. And man, what juicy, man. So right, my Wonder Emporium here is now also, well, I mean, that was already a part of the plan, right? The laboratory I have to build. I love yous. And I'm sure I'll see you tomorrow. Tomorrow's called Monday. No, called Sunday, right? Tomorrow's called Sunday. Okay, right. We still have one weekend day left. So until Sunday, mwah, I see you so soon. Did you see my peace sign? That was a peace sign. Thank you. Laters.